Evan, we were trying to get this link situated, so I apologize for the slight delay, but Evan is a special talent. He 7 feet tall, runs like a guard, and very skilled, and a great passer for his size. You can ask him about his. There he is. Hey, Evan.
How you doing?
But our team's progressing. We had a good week of practice, had a scrimmage yesterday with Pac-12 officials, so that was fun to get on the main court with Pac-12 officials, and it was productive. Learned a lot about our team, which the scrimmages are designed to do. Unfortunately, this year we will not have the 2 preseason competitions, which were scrimmages with Division I opponents. Last year we actually had a game with Villanova, which felt more like a regular season game the way it was constructed, and that was awesome for the charity and the Fires. This year we are prevented from having any preseason scrimmages or games, and that's a NCAA rule. So we'll have one more inter-squad scrimmage with Pac-12 officials next week, and then tip it off for good. So it's a little unusual this year because we have a new team, a lot of new players, and they're adjusting to each other. So it'd be nice to have those 2 preseason competitions, but unfortunately this year we'll just have to do it between our squads.
Okay, we'll take questions for both Coach and Evan. Thanks for joining us, Evan. Let's start. Rich Rubin, you had your hand up. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Yeah, Andy, thanks. Two questions. One, do you know anything more about the status of Drew Peterson being able to play this season?
No, we don't, Rich. I think hopefully we'll know something next week and or before, but we'll certainly let everybody know at the same time, or if next Friday on this call. But I'm hoping to hear something before that. Okay.
And my second question is this: what are your expectations for the 4 big men this year? The 2 Mobley brothers and Chavez and Boubacar versus what you received from 3 big men last year. You know, Nick, Isaiah, and who am I forgetting?
Onyeka?
Yeah.
You can't forget about him. He's going to be a lottery draft. But
yeah.
Hey, you haven't been in a game in about 8 months, so I forgive you, Rich. You're just you got to get back into the swing here soon, right? Onyeka was extremely productive for us, averaged 16.5 and 9 rebounds, and I think he was top 10 in the country, 2.7 blocks per game. So anytime you lose that production, you have a hole to fill. We think Evan Mobley, who's on the call, will be able to fill Onyeka's statistics. I think they're different players. Evan is more skill with the basketball in his hands. Evan's a much better passer, playmaker. I think you'll see Evan average probably over 4 assists a game. That's my prediction. Maybe 5 assists a game. I think there'll be some games where he has 8 or 9 assists. And Onyeka was a different type player. Onyeka was more of a power player. They're both super athletes. They're both long, and they're both very skilled around the basket, finishing with both hands. So there are a lot of similarities with Onyeka and Evan, but they are different type of players as a whole. But I think you'll see Evan's productivity be very similar or surpass Onyeka's as a freshman. Isaiah Mobley will make a huge jump this year. We think Isaiah will be much more productive than he was last year from a points per game, rebounding, block shots, and he'll take the slack up or replace what Nick Kosovic gave us. And Isaiah's also a much better passer than Nick was. Nick was probably a better rebounder, offense rebounder. Nick was probably the best offense rebounder we've coached here in a long time. So they're different type players as well, but I think you'll see Isaiah take that next step. And then we have Chavez Goodwin, who is just a extremely physical player from Wofford. He's 6'9", about 230 pounds, and he's a high energy, very, very physical. And then we have Boubacar, the other freshman, with Evan. And Boubacar is an amazing athlete, extremely talented offensive rebounder, runner, jumper, and will give us some high energy off the bench and really elevate the athleticism when he comes in a game from our team. So I think we have a different front line than we did last year. There are some similarities, but we think we feel great. We think this is the most talented front line we've had as a whole.
Okay, we'll go to Beth Harris. Beth, make sure you unmute.
Hey Andy, how you doing?
Hi, Beth.
Wondering, have you gotten the any more of the schedule locked down, including your opener?
Yeah, we projected to open with Cal Baptist on the 25th, and we're still finalizing, I think, 2 or 3 games. We don't have them signed yet, Beth. We had to shift around a couple. We thought we had the schedule done a few days ago, and then we just had 2 teams. One team that we shifted the schedule around to accommodate them, and then they ended up backing out. So it's frustrating in this business at times where you try to do favors for people and they back out at the last minute for whatever reason. But this COVID situation is unprecedented. We are playing BYU in the Legends Classic, so that'll be our first game in Connecticut, and then Vanderbilt and UConn are on the other side. So that'll be a great tournament for us, and hopefully the travel will go as planned, and we'll be good on that.
Just one follow-up. How likely do you think it's going to be that teams are scrambling for replacement games once the season begins because somebody comes up with a positive test?
Well, I think you saw 2 of the 6 football games in the Pac-12 are canceled tomorrow. I think basketball is a lot easier to manage and handle because there's just there's a tenth of the people, or maybe an eighth of the number of people. Our team we have 11 scholarship players and 2 non-scholarship players that may or may not travel. So our staff is much smaller. So it's hard to compare basketball with football. We're very hopeful that it will go smoothly. We're not naive, though, around the country. We understand probably within our own league, maybe within our own program, that there will be a positive test or 2 throughout the season, and we'll just have to adjust as we go forward.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Tiffany. Thank you for joining us today. You're up.
Coach, you mentioned the scrimmage, so and how much you learned. So just can you kind of tell us more about how that scrimmage went, what exactly you learned about this team? Obviously, you have so many players, so many new players, so there's definitely a lot to learn about all these new guys and how they fit together.
Well, we had two 20-minute games, and we had Pac-12 officials, and Evan switched teams halfway through and won both scrimmages. So I guess the number one thing we learned was the team that Evan was on won both games, as well as one of his teammates. They switched, and we think we have an excellent front line. We also like how we share the basketball. Our point guard play is very solid with Ethan Anderson and Taj Edie, and then our wings are progressing, and we're not sure who will be in the starting lineup yet. That's still to be determined because we have a lot of different options if we want to play big or small or fast, but we are excited about some of the combinations that we have available as a coaching staff to put on the floor, and a different style that we can play, whether we press or play zone or man, or if we go big or small.
Adam Grossbard.
Hey, Evan, thank you for doing this today. When you come to a school with, the resume that you built in high school, there are obviously a lot of external expectations, but I'm just curious, what are the expectations you have for yourself this year, and, what responsibilities are you putting on yourself as a freshman?
I just want to come in and do the best I possibly do. Come in every day to practice, trying to work hard, asking the coaches what I can get better at. Coach Andy Enfield, he's been helping me with shooting right now, focusing a lot on that, trying to get better at my three-pointers. And I just want to win the most amount of games. That's mostly like my goal for this season.
last week, Andy told us a story of you volleyball blocking a three-pointer at the top of the key, running down, dunking, and he said practice just kind of went silent for a few seconds as they tried to like process what had just happened. What's going through your brain as you're watching, your new teammates and coaches kind of react to a moment like that?
I've had a few good plays here and there. I just try to stay focused. On that play, Taj pump fake a defender, and then he dribbled in. He started shooting it, so I just started reacting and go for the block. And like, I jumped up. I was high enough to like block it with two hands and go get it and dunk it on the other end. But plays like that just happen from my natural ability and like instincts. I'm not trying to make like big plays all the time, but it happens sometimes.
Okay, we'll go to shotgun.
Hey, Evan, where is your game still developing? What areas are you really trying to put in that extra work at?
Like I said, I'm really trying to improve my shooting, be more of a threat, driving to the basket, going left and right, as well improving my passing and playmaking. When I drive to the basket, stopping on two, looking for the wings, and if it's not there, then shoot it with my left and right hand. But that's mostly it.
And then how about your brother? Having a year off from playing with him, where have you seen his game grow over that year and through this off season?
I think he's really grown as a leader. He's leading our team very well this year because we don't have a very old team this year. Like all of our vets are sophomores, so I feel like he's leading our team very well. Has a lot of leadership and like telling us where to go on plays and stuff if like we mess up or stuff because we're freshmen. But I think he just did a good job of coming back and being a just solid leader on and off the floor for us this year, as well. Me and him have good connection. So on the court, like we have a lot of good plays, throwing alley oops to each other and stuff like that. But he's just been a great leader so far.
Okay, Mark Culkin.
Pleasure to meet you, Evan. So you've been playing, high-level basketball, McDonald's All-American, national teams. Has there been a major adjustment for you at this level so far?
I feel like the biggest adjustment was the physicality and the speed of the game. I feel like as you go up, the physicality and speed just gets higher and higher, and you got to get used to it. So that was probably the hardest part to adjust to in the beginning, but I'm getting used to it now more with the fast-paced game and everything. I feel like that was probably the hardest to adjust to.
I think it was a perfect segue for Coach. Between Evan and Isaiah, who's the most physical between the two? And do you have to encourage them to be more physical with each other?
Well, I think they're probably equally physical. You don't have to be big and bulky to be physical, because Evan, when he puts the ball on the floor and goes to the basket, even though he weighs about 215 right now, 7 feet, 215, he doesn't weigh 245 like Onyeka did. So Onyeka was physical in the fact that he could seal in the post and get angles and use his lower body. Evan's taller and longer and just a different body type, but just as physical, meaning he's going to battle you. And Isaiah's kind of in between those two guys. So you have three different body types, three different type players, but they're not they don't back down from contact. And so to be physical at this game, I think what Evan was saying about the physicality, probably a little surprised at how strong some of these guys are. And like Chavez Goodwin's a four-year player and 6'9", 230, and Josh Morgan is a big young man and just turned 19 years old. And then his brother Isaiah has a year of college experience, and so he's been in the weight room as well. So he's going against the front line that has experience, and their bodies are developed. And I think it's great for Evan on a daily basis to play against these guys, and also it's good for the other guys to play against the length that Evan has, because they're all equally as physical. They're just different body types, and so when Evan reaches his 7'5" wingspan up, it's hard to shoot over him. You got to figure out a way to get around him. When Chavez bumps Evan on a drive, Evan's got to be able to take the contact and balance himself and go finish. And so I think they all have different differences in their body types and in their skill sets, but it's been great to watch them, because I think they're all getting better going against each other in practice every day.
Okay, we'll go back to Rich Rubin.
Andy, you said last week that you might play some zone, give it a try and see what it looks like. If you do that, would you try to use someone like Isaiah White or Max up front at the top of the key in the way Washington used Thibault a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Put them in the guard spot in a 2-3 zone and let them use their size and length. And it's hard to play zone if you can't keep the ball in the middle of the floor. I think the Max and Isaiah White, and even Drew Peterson, if he's eligible this year, and Noah Bauman, they're all big guards. Tajidi and Ethan are smaller guards, but we need them to have anticipation. But you're right, Washington's zone that year with Thibault at the top was special, because Thibault was Defensive Player of the Year in the United States. And so anytime you put someone 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" up top that has that length, it can really create havoc for the opposing team.
Thank you.
Okay, Adam Grossbart.
Evan, Andy mentioned your passing ability earlier. Did you ever play any guard growing up, or have you always been playing in the post?
Well, as I was growing up, I always played with my older brother, Isaiah. So when I would play up with him, I wouldn't be necessarily the biggest guy out there. So I'd kind of have to be on the outside a little bit and play like with the guard position. As I got older, I grew and got more taller. So I started becoming more big, and I just started playing more big and like being able to pass out of the post more easily because of the past I had playing up with my brother.
For sure. And you mentioned the coaches working with you to just develop your game before the actual games start. Like, what areas have you been focusing on during camp?
A lot of shooting. Like I've been saying, a lot of shooting. Coach has gotten with me like multiple occasions before practice or after practice, just working on my form, trying to get that right. So like in the games, if I'm spotting up on the three or at the 3-point line, I can knock it down for the team.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. Shotgun, we'll go back to you.
Andy, last year you had Q step up and become a captain. Any of the transfers that really stepped into a leadership role yet?
I think they lead by example. Tajidi, Chavez, and Isaiah White, they all play very hard. Isaiah White and Chavez are probably two of the hardest players we've coached. They're nonstop. And so I think anytime you do that, you lead by example. And I think that's what Quentin Q did last year. He just showed up here and was a hard worker, and he got along with his teammates, and he pushed them just by how hard he did everything in the weight room, on the court, in the drills, conditioning. So we're fortunate to have 3 good graduate transfers, and we haven't voted for captains yet, so it's too early for me to tell who the teammates will vote for. But you could be a captain we've had freshman captains here, and we've had graduate transfers like last year that came in as that had never been in our program. So it'll be interesting to see what the team decides.
Have any of the returning players kind of taken on a more vocal role? I mean, Evan talked a little bit about Isaiah, him, Ethan, Max, any of those guys that have really, become that vocal guy at practice?
Ethan and Isaiah have great leadership capabilities. Ethan started almost every game last year. Isaiah started maybe 7 or 8 games and played a lot. Max didn't play as much last year, but has made a big jump productivity-wise in practice. But Isaiah knows all the plays as well as Ethan, because he's a point guard. But Isaiah is like a point guard that just happens to play forward. So I think those guys know our defensive system, the offensive system, and they know where other players are supposed to be, and they're more than willing to help out when needed.
Okay, we'll take a last question from Beth Harris.
Hey, Evan, what kind of relationship do you have with your brother? Are you guys living together, and is it the kind of thing where you hang out all the time off the court, or do you like to kind of go your own way at times?
As of right now, we're living together. I'm in an apartment with me, Ethan, Noah Bauman, and Isaiah. We have a great relationship. Most of the time, we're always together, like going places, anywhere. We're usually together, but sometimes we like veer off or go somewhere on our own. It just depends on like what we're doing, but most of the time we're together.
Thanks.
Okay, well, Andy, Evan, thanks so much for joining us. Great job today. Media, thank you for being on with us. We'll do this again next Friday with Coach Enfield and another player at the same time, 1:30. Till then, have a great weekend and hope to see most of you at the football game tomorrow.